Hello, this is Annette with Project Refine Life. Welcome to my channel and welcome to the May 2023 monthly wrap-up. May was a crazy busy month. Getting into this video, it is going to be a little bit different. So what I've chosen to do for now, and I don't know how long it'll last, but for now, what I've done is I've broken up my haul into one video. So any new decks, any tools, any books that I purchased in the month of May, you can see in my May haul of decks and books and all of the stuff. But the rest of this video is just going to cover my practice and what I've been up to. So as I stated, May was crazy. There was prom, the end of the school year events, and Mother's Day. And then also in addition to that, we took a trip to California. And while we were there, we were able to spend some time at the beach and walk around listening to the ocean roll in and out and being able to just spend some time on the sand. I really, really love it. And while I was there, it was very obvious to me how much I missed it. Also, we were able to spend a little bit more time and go over to the farmers market and the Grove. The farmers market has some amazing food. So we were able to grab a bite there and then just walk around the Grove. And so it was just really comfortable being in these very familiar places. And it was kind of like stepping into my comfort zone while I was there. And then we were able to see family and my grandchildren and my son. And so it was just an amazing trip. Now, stepping outside of my comfort zone for this month, I subbed a couple of classes, and these classes are yoga, of course, which I'm completely comfortable with. However, there were about 69 students in each class that I subbed, and that took me out of my comfort zone. The first time I walked in, I was a little intimidated, a little nervous about teaching such a large class, but by the second class I walked in, I had a new perspective. I set it up being right in the middle, and it was just a completely different feel. So here's to stepping into and out of your comfort zones just to experience new things and experience the things that have always made you happy. So as far as journaling is concerned, as you can tell, I wrote down May here, which I usually put a nice little picture or something like that. I didn't do that. And although I did a lot of journaling this month, there are absolutely no pictures, no prettiness. As you can see here, I wrote these in my digital journal, which digital journal is really... There's no such thing as a digital journal. I just go on to Google Docs and I just start typing. I haven't even had the opportunity to print it out and put it into my journal. But it was a great month for really just writing down whatever I was thinking, whatever I was feeling. I was really within that journaling mode. So really just describing feelings and thoughts and emotions, and it was really, really nice. We're just going to get right into discussing decks that I used the most. To begin the month, we started off with Beltane, and I went ahead and went with the Seasons of the Witch for my Beltane reading. And these two were really nice together. The energy is completely in alignment with one another. You know, this feeling of like coming into blooming and just, you know, being within that element of awakening. It was a really great combination together. I really enjoyed these. And as you can see, looking at the combination of the two, one really spoke to the other. And I think there's really not a good way to get a great perspective of this without doing this bit right here. So you can truly understand just how well these two read together. And I hope I'm not getting too much glare. I know this one is a little bit shiny, but the Journey of the Sacred Bee is just a beautiful, beautiful deck. It carries so much beautiful energy. And I really think, to be perfectly honest, that because the Journey of the Sacred Bee has, in each and every card, there is sacred geometry. And I think that it really speaks up as you're working with the deck. You can feel something definitely different working with the Journey of the Sacred Bee. I don't know if everybody feels that way or not about this deck, but I just really loved the way that these two worked, and my message was really good. Really, really good. Now, one thing that I've been doing lately is that whenever I get a new deck in, I make sure to work with that deck immediately, because I find that if I don't, then I just kind of put it up on the shelf, and then it takes a while for me to get back to it. And that's not the intention of bringing decks into my collection. I mean, anything that I bring in, I definitely want to work with. That is, that's the plan, right? Is to work with it. So what I've been doing is just, if I get something in, I just find a way to incorporate it into the month. And because of that, I haven't been very consistent with matching up like the energy of the decks along with the season, because this deck, the Gentle Thrills Tarot, which I did a full walkthrough of, it has more of that summer vibe. It has that brilliance, that spark, that fire, that would kind of fall in line even with like my Tarot of Avada. It has this energy, this essence to it that's just speaking of this passion, this creativity, this time of go. But I really loved the sacred symbols along with the Gentle Thrills Tarot. I discussed this in my, I don't know if it was an unboxing or my video of this deck, is that I paired it up with the sacred symbols. And what I loved about the sacred symbols is because this deck is so big, not deck size wise, but just the way that it speaks. It's so big. It's an easy read, but it's just big. The sacred symbols kind of toned it down a little bit. It just kind of brought it into a place where you can just manage the reading a little bit better. Even though if you're just working with the Gentle Thrills Tarot, just 2 or 3 cards, you're going to find that it's really not as loud as it might seem looking at it as a whole. So that being said, I love working with tarot and oracle together. So these two really hit the mark for me. And I love that the art is almost, it's kind of cohesive. It kind of works together. But this is a very good reader. I really like the Gentle Thrills Tarot. In my haul video, I also mentioned that I got the Squid Cake Tarot, the Marseille Tarot. Thank you, Kelly Bear, because I like this deck a lot. I tried to pair this up with a couple of decks, and for the most part, I got an okay reading, but this is what I used because I just kind of wanted to just get my oracle decks in my readings really provide a bit of a focus. And I was having trouble finding something that matched artistically, which provided a little bit of white space. And this is the Radiant Crystals deck, which I really do use a lot. But as you can see, they don't really work together all that great. So I tried them. It just didn't work like I wanted it to. So basically, and I never really do this, I was really just working with the Squid Cake Tarot all by itself. And I really didn't get too far into the readings. Like I didn't have a solid week or so of just pulling from this deck. It was just kind of here and there and everywhere. But I really do enjoy this deck. This little guidebook is really, really amazing. If you are trying to learn the Marseille, I highly, highly recommend this deck. And this is a deck that I think I'm just going to keep out and just keep working with because it is helping me to understand the Marseille, and when things kind of, this idea of like colliding. Let's see if I can, here we go. This idea of like all of these energies coming together and colliding. It's a really good deck. I really like that. Let me go ahead and flip that. I don't know how things come upside down within my decks because I don't do reversals. Here's the backs and it already comes edged in pink. Awesome, awesome little deck. I really like that. Now, although I got this deck in the month before, 50 Plants That Heal, I wasn't done working with it alongside the Tarot of the Drowning World. And the Tarot of the Drowning World really has become one of those decks that kind of sits with like my most used decks. I love this deck. It is just amazing. And I've always thought like I really don't understand, you know, the complexity of the deck, but I have to share something with you. So I usually do my readings in the morning, and if for some reason I get hung up and I can't complete my reading for the morning, then, you know, sometimes I'll leave it here on my desk and then I'll come back later. But one morning I was heading off to yoga and I wasn't completed with my reading, so I just grabbed both of these decks and took them with me. No guidebook, and I did my journaling in my car in between two of my yoga classes. And it was amazing. It was beautiful. I love working with these two together. The energy is just beautiful. And somebody had mentioned, one of the comments in my video for this deck here, the 50 Plants That Heal, that there is enough here on the back. You don't have to go in and dig into some other type of book that talks about healing and the emotional aspects of plants, because there's enough for you to gather from the back of this card when it talks about the benefits and just the active elements and what it's referring to here. There's enough for you to gather what you need to take from this in order to apply this particular plant to your reading and the overall energy of the reading. These were amazing together, and more exciting than anything, I got it without the guidebook, the Tarot of the Drowning World. I have been so dependent on the guidebook, and now that I had that one Saturday morning with it without the guidebook, I was just kind of tapped into it. I am just more in love with this deck than I was before. It's an amazing, beautifully created deck. And I know some people are saying, oh, I know a lot of people don't like clowns, right? And there are clowns in here. But for a lot of people, some of the images here are somewhat haunting. But this is an amazing, amazing and beautiful deck. And the energy that spills from this deck is just gorgeous. I really, really love it. This deck, the Nature and Soul Yoga Wisdom cards. I'm going to do a walkthrough of this deck, but I wanted to share with you the deck that I worked with the most alongside it, and that is the Yonasa Yaus Tarot. The readings that I was getting from these two decks was really fantastic. I love the cohesiveness of the art, and it really does. It's funny because the Yonasa Yaus, sometimes you put like this feeling like that's more of a spring deck, that's more of a fall deck. You know, I don't know exactly where this sits because it feels very spring. It feels very fall. This idea of kind of going within is clearly within this deck with the darker tones. Maybe it's this deck that enlivened it. I don't know, but I wouldn't really put like a finger on this is spring or this is fall, nothing of that sort, because it's just so beautifully created. I just adore her work. But these two, as you can see, the colors are very cohesive. And for me, whenever I get a deck that's talking about yoga poses, I can completely dive into that energy and insert the energy of the pose into my reading. So this was a delight. The Trickster's Journey Tarot deck is an amazingly beautiful deck, and I have yet to do a walkthrough. I will be doing one. I did work with this deck, and I did work with it alongside the Nature and Soul Yoga Wisdom cards. I'm not quite sure that that is the deck for it yet. I still need to work with a few others alongside this so that I can really determine which one really speaks up and still carries a good voice alongside this deck. The images are soft and beautiful, and the messages are really strong. So at this time, I can't really show you a pairing that I really loved for it yet. Not yet, because I'm still in the process of working with it. I put it back in order, or I thought I did. I'm still kind of working with it and trying to work through it, but this deck is beautiful. So I'm not going to do the full walkthrough with you guys right here, but that's the Trickster's Journey. Coastal Curiosities was the other deck that I got in that was new this month that I really wanted to work with. And once I paired it up in the unboxing, I paired it up with the Guided Hand Tarot, and I just knew, like, this is the deck. These two really need to work together. And can I just tell you how gorgeous these two look together? I'm just picking up everything and moving everything here. Let me go ahead and try to put that in order. These two were just amazing together. They were beautiful. Guided Hand Tarot, you know, I wish I saw more people talk about this deck because it's really a great reader. It has awesome images. It's a little quirky. It's a collage deck, and obviously I have a thing for collage decks, even though I don't want to admit that. I think I really do, because here's another collage deck right here. But these two carried such great energy together, because I feel like the Coastal Curiosities carries some of that similar energy where you have like this meshing of the unknown and what is going on in reality, and sometimes this disbelief in trying to put all these pieces together. I loved these two together. They were so good. And what I have found, that even though the guidebook is rather good, and I do like the way that the energies are listed and the anatomy of the card are listed here within the guidebook, just taking this and reading it for what you're witnessing on the cards is enough. It's working for me. I really do like it. And the cardstock. Can I just say that I always thought, and I've always said, I'm not a cardstock snob. And for the most part, that is true. However, this deck, oh my goodness, I really enjoy the way that the cardstock feels. It is just beautiful. It shuffles beautifully. For those of you who like to fan out cards, I mean, look at that. Oh my goodness, it's just gorgeous. So I really enjoyed working with the Coastal Curiosities alongside the Guided Hand Tarot. For my trip to California, I took these two decks, the Gentle Tarot along with the Roots and Wings Oracle. Now, there is something to be said about stepping into your comfort zone, and these two are definitely it. I've had the Roots and Wings for years now, and the Gentle Tarot, everybody knows that this is my favorite deck. This is the linen edition, and it just works so well. It shuffles so nicely. And the Roots and Wings is just like this really beautiful, soft landing spot. It is filled with kindness. And again, one of those decks that you really don't need to pull the guidebook. It does have a great little guidebook, but there's enough here within the images and the one key word or the title of the deck that you don't really need too much else. I mean, look at this. Oh, held. Look at this idea of being held, the Fool and the Six of Cups. Oh my goodness. See, this is kind of like why I love these two together. There are others that might look a little bit better together, but these two, it's just such a beautiful, it's a caring read. And it was another element of me stepping into that comfort zone, going in to see family and feeling held and feeling that idea of just stepping back and being nostalgic and just kind of going into it knowing that everything was going to be okay. It was just beautiful. Very, very nice. As I mentioned earlier, when I get a deck in, I really like to work with it right away because I don't want it to just go up on the shelf or anything like that. I want to take time to figure out whether this deck is going to work for me or not before it just takes up space. I'm just about to do a looking over of all my decks that are in my space right here to figure out which ones are working and which ones aren't. But this is the one deck that came in very late February. I wasn't really sure whether or not I had even ordered this deck. I reached out to the creator. We went back and forth, and she assured me that yes, in fact, I had ordered this deck in 2021, December of 2021. So I said, okay, with that in mind, I went ahead and I opened the deck. I did go through the deck and I tried to work with the deck a couple of times. I have to be honest in saying that this isn't exactly my aesthetic. And it's not that it's not beautiful, it is beautiful. And like the Super Lunaris, I always say it's not my aesthetic, but I absolutely adore that deck. And it might pair well with that particular deck. I'm not quite sure because I haven't tried it. But I'll tell you where my hang up has been. So I tried to pull a couple of cards and it wasn't working for me. And the reason for that is that apparently I ordered this deck December 2021 for the price of the Kickstarter, or I ordered it from the creator's website, apparently. So that's 75 US dollars. When this deck came to me, it came in a box that read on the label US Games. And I thought, now that is peculiar, for one, because I thought I didn't order anything from US Games. So I got rid of the box after I had contacted the creator because I didn't want to keep the box. But then I found out very shortly after getting everything worked out with the creator and everything that I had ordered this deck apparently, that it is on US Games and it's a mass market deck for $26.95. Now, had I ordered this deck on Kickstarter, or apparently I ordered this deck from the creator for $75 in December of 2021, and I received it February of 2023, that's a long time to wait for a deck for $75. And I know that the creator must have had a lot of conversations with US Games in this time because it took a while. And I'm not complaining about the time that it took to get the deck. But my complaint is that when you send out your deck to people who have been awaiting your deck for all that time, December 2021, and then I receive it February 2023, that's a long time to wait for a deck. That's an investment in a deck that, of course, with a Kickstarter or something like that, there is no guarantee that you're going to get the deck. But within a month's time to have that available for $26.95 in a mass market deck is a little disappointing. And I'm not even invested in this deck. So if I was really, truly, like, emotionally invested in this deck, I can only imagine how that would feel. I don't know what the differences are between the mass market and this so-called collector's edition, but I don't know, guys. I don't know how to feel about that. I think that everybody has the right to make money. I mean, we have to eat, we have to pay rent, we have to do all those things. But I just think that you should give a little regard to the people that supported your project and help it come true, and just give them a little bit of time with your indie deck before you have the mass market deck released. I don't know. Give me your feelings, give me your thoughts on this, guys, because I'm feeling a little sour about this. And I'm not even like truly invested in it. But I have to tell you that if anything, I would have ordered this deck for this card alone, Spider Woman, because I love working with the Spider Woman energy. I love working with that. So this was probably the key for me to ordering this deck. But I don't know, I have to look for some walkthroughs to see the mass market edition of this deck and to see if there are in fact any differences between the collector's edition and the mass market edition. I am very curious. So leave me some comments if you know anything else about this. I would appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you for listening to me rant. From my heart to yours, I will see you later.